So joining me next is Carrie Rattle. She's a financial coach at the Association for Financial Counseling and Planning Education, and she's also the CEO and founder of Behavioral Sense. Welcome to the show, Carrie. How are you?
Thank you. I'm great considering the circumstances. You know, there's still sun outside. It's a good start.
It is a nice sunny day in the tri-state area. So we're headed towards a recession, major stimulus. How do we weather this financially? You know, a lot of people have trouble taking help from the government. A lot of people, think that they've failed when they've been laid off, et cetera. How do we manage this whole, not only the health effects, but, the financial effects on our own, image of ourselves?
Yeah. So let's start with our own mental health for a couple of seconds, because it's mind over money. And, there's the herd effect, which we are all experiencing right now. You see a bunch of sheep, they hear something bad, they all run in one direction and eventually jump over a cliff, right? Well, for us, it's buying toilet paper and hoarding food. So it's sheer panic, right? And that
I'm not toilet paper, but I did do some food. I bought too much food.
Yeah, some of my clients, I think they've bought enough food, David, to actually feed an army of 50. So if you get hungry, I'll let you know where they live. How's that?
Sounds like a plan. So how do we clear that mindset? How do we make sure we're not acting irrationally?
Yeah. So it starts with your amygdala, a little peanut size shape in your brain, and it's the thing that overrides everything rational immediately when it's afraid, right? So it's important to know that fear is only in your head, because your amygdala is still back in the caveman days, and it thinks, oh my gosh, fear, something terrible is going to happen. And yes, we're in a pandemic, but most people are surviving the pandemic. And so we have to bring ourselves down, and there are three things you can do to do that. First of all, have compassion for yourself. There are a lot of people right now who are saying, should have built that emergency fund. I shouldn't have just bought X. We're getting tight on cash. So here's a way of thinking about it. Instead of saying, I should have done that in my past, recognize that you are standing on your past and your future is above. And that helps because, okay, I'm wiser now. I've learned from this. I'm here today. And how do I move forward? So it's a really interesting way of thinking about your future instead of looking back and saying shoulda, woulda, coulda type of thing. Second of all, gratitude. So talking about that little amygdala is what kept us alive for so many centuries, because when you see a cute little fuzzy tiger, your amygdala says, no, not cute and fuzzy, dangerous, right?
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't be alive.
Right.
So our brains are wired to think negatively, to survive. So if you just sit down, I do this every day, and boy, does it clear my head. List 5 things of gratitude. The sun, meeting you, David, right? Your children are healthy, whatever it is, it rewires your brain to be more positive. And the third thing, and wow, does this feel good, especially in this time of moral distress. We see so many of our friends losing their jobs, their companies. We want to help, and yet we also want to survive. Do something good for somebody every single day. It might just be a phone call. It might be getting groceries when you have to for somebody who's so elderly and at high risk they just can't get out, whatever it is.
That is some really good advice. I've learned that thing about reminding myself of the positivity in the morning, because all our brains are negatively wired. And especially right now, our only distraction is the news. And a lot of it is about the pandemic and the gory statistics. So that's some really solid advice right now.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, and leaving those money things behind, a lot of people have that. We have a lot of buyer's remorse right now. It's hard. We start overthinking like, oh, I shouldn't have gone on that vacation right before this. I shouldn't have bought that house. I
Yes.
mean, I shouldn't have bought those clothes, So I think that this is a really good way to look at things. What do you think happens? My last question for you, as this becomes more of daily life, like me video conferencing with you becomes normal to me, and being home for 2 weeks at a time is, taken for granted. We don't even know what day it is anymore. How do we begin to, make sure that we're still okay?
Yes. Yeah. And, it's, if it becomes the new normal, then the second part is to say, okay, whether the new normal is forever or just for 2 months, how do you start planning and taking control of what you have today, right? And financially, on the upside, when you think about it, we're not paying for transportation costs anymore. We're definitely not eating out as much.
No, no.
Even if we wanted to in New York City, there are very few restaurants open and only for delivery. So what you can do right now is, and it's scary for a lot of people, right? This money thing, don't want to touch my money, don't want to think about it, I'm in denial. If you start taking control of your money, it is going to make you feel oh so much better. I promise this because every single one of my clients gets it. So start thinking about that emergency fund if you don't have one, because
Wow.
look at what you're not spending.
Yeah, our revenues have gone down, but our spending has definitely gone down. My household spending is down 80%. So,
Yeah.
it's a lot better. So, where
Yeah.
where can we find out more about you, Carrie? Thank you for taking the time to talk to us, by the way.
Oh, sure, not a problem. So it's Behavioral Sense, behavioral and in CENTS, as in moneybehaviors.com. I'm a money coach for professional women, and I'm holding open office hours every Wednesday morning for anyone who needs to triage payments right now, free time. And if you want to sign up, just sign up for my blog, because that's how I reach out to everybody. And thank you, David, for having me.
All the best to all of you all in Westchester County, which is on the outskirts of New York. Thank you again, Carrie.
Thank you, David. Bye-bye.